Welcome to the part 2 of my series on the mystery of language in Nisargadatta Maharaj Atma Yoga. I never met Maharaj and I am not his disciple, and this is based on what I have learned from other Gyani Gurus. Please do watch the part 1. The link is given in the description. To understand the connection between the language and the Atma Tattva, that is the self, we have to set our focus on a few building blocks of the consciousness, and one of those are the five elements. And those elements are space, air, fire, water, earth. This is a specific order, and they are in this specific order, starting with space, air, fire, water, and then earth. Now, many people tend to confuse these five elements with the periodic table that we learned in our chemistry book. Now, these five elements, because of this word element, all this confusion is there. But these five elements have nothing to do with the periodic tables. You will find innumerable references to the five elements in Maharaj's discourses. Even in the Sanatan literature, that is in the Vedanta or in the Tantric text and other texts, there are innumerable references to the five elements. Let us look at a few quotes from Maharaj on the five elements. The play of the entire world is based on the five elements and the three gunas. Now we will not focus on the three gunas in this video because we just want to keep it simple and focus on the five elements. All these five elements are you only. The sum total of the five elements is consciousness. Whatever feeling or vibration you are having is only the product of the five elements. Now let me pick one of the quotes for the sake of discussion. Let's pick up this one. Whatever feeling or vibration you are having is only the product of the five elements. Let's look at the emergence of the five elements as depicted in this picture. The first element to rise in the consciousness is the sense of space, followed by the element air, then fire, water, and then the earth. Now, each of these elements give rise to the functionality of the sensory organs. So, when the element space rises, then the sensory organ related to the hearing takes shape, and then when the air element rises, then the sense of touch arises. Now, each of these elements below the space element, they also combine the properties of the preceding element. So the air element will predominantly is connected with the sense of touch, but it will also have this property derived from the space element. Same with fire, with water, and finally with earth. If you look at the earth element, it will have the properties of predominantly it is related to smell, but it will also have the properties of the other elements, which is the which denotes the taste, sight, touch, and hearing. So Maharaj has often mentioned that the very sense of being conscious of things, material or non-material, itself is a miracle. And this miracle is made possible by the functionality of these five elements. To really appreciate the miracle of the functionality of the sensory organs, which is happening right now as you are watching this video and hearing this audio, the 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 miracle of the sensory organs is in action. But let's go further and take this picture as an example. Now this is a picture of an atom. When you look at the picture of an atom, then the following conscious interpretation is triggered. When you look at this picture, then you say, okay, this seems like a particle and this seems to be like vibrating in space. Now, all these conscious experience or the interpretations about this atom is made possible by these elements. So, when you say that this looks like a particle, then this particular sense is coming from the earth element. And when you say that this looks like vibrating, so this sense of vibration is coming from the air element. And the sense of space is coming from the space element. So all these elements come together to create a conscious interpretation of this atom. This the definition of the atom is being provided by you and not by the atom. Let's take another example. When you touch a wall, a sense of something solid is realized. When we touch anything solid, table or a wall, then this sense of solid, something solid is realized. Now, if you carefully think about it, then you will notice that the cells of the skin, they themselves are dead. They are not conscious enough to convey that there is something solid. Similarly, the nerve impulse, which might be traveling from this point to the brain, these are just some electric impulses. They themselves are not capable enough to give this experience of touching and the interpretation that there is something solid. And same is with the brain also. The brain itself is just made up of some organic chemicals. So these chemicals themselves are not conscious enough to give this sense of something solid and the feeling of touch. Of course, all this feeling is the play of these five elements that is in turn powered by the consciousness. Even when you use phrases like a sense of heaviness started dwelling on me, I started gravitating toward that person, he was given a stable resting place, all these feelings are actually the being generated. This is the play of the five elements. So when you say a sense of heaviness, this actually is coming from the earth element. When you say I started gravitating toward that person, this is also coming from the earth element. And then when we say that he was given a stable resting place, so all these are just flavor of the earth element, nothing else. Even the very sense of body being enclosed in a hard shell, this feeling is also triggered by the earth element. So if you think about it, then Maharaj quote that whatever feeling or vibration you are having is only the product of the five elements becomes more clear to you. Now that the role and significance of the five elements is clear to us, it is time to dwell on the main topic of this video: how the five elements are connected to the language. Let us look at the relationship of the language with the five elements in the light of this quote from Maharaj. All knowledge is only in the grasp of the five senses and words. All knowledge here means the conscious interpretation of everything around you: your computer, your office desk, walls of your room, to the distant galaxies, the animal kingdom, everything. living or non-living, around you, including you yourself, is experienced and interpreted and defined by the consciousness using the five elements that we already discussed. But in the last part of this quote, Maharaj also points towards the significance of words. All knowledge is only in the grasp of the five senses and words. With the emergence of the five elements, there are corresponding sound or dhvani that also emerges. With each element, a specific dhvani or the sound also emerges. These points are called as the ghat or the kar. That means a placeholder for a specific sound. Here I have only shown the dhvani or the sound that corresponds to the earth element, and that sound is pronounced as a. When the earth element rises in the consciousness, then the corresponding sound or dhvani that emerges is corresponds to the sound a. The emerging of the elements in the consciousness is said to begin at the crown of the head. That's usually called as Brahmarandra. This is the point where the elements start rising, and the first element or the conscious experience that emerges is the sense of space. At the throat region, the last element, that is the earth, emerges. This is a very significant point, and for this reason, the reference to the earth element keeps appearing in Maharaj's discourses. Here is one. All living beings, as well as every shape and form, are created from the merging of the five elements with the essence of the earth. At the point of the emergence of the earth element, the sound a also originates at the throat region. This sound or dhvani a is also the first letter of the Sanskrit language. The spoken aspect of the language, called as Vakri, also begins at this point. The placeholder point or the dhvani or the sound a is also called as akar. Akar means form. The universe containing trillions of forms appear at this point. This is also the point where the sense of I am or I am body or the ahem or the ahankar is born. All these phenomena are powered by language only. And in my next video, we will understand what exactly is meant by language, which is even prior to five elements. Thanks for watching.